Sally and Chrissie approached me and said, "Oh, we've got lots of art space, lots of big walls. Would you be interested in hosting an art exhibition?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." So I was hugely enthusiastic to do that. And unfortunately, it's all come together, and Sally and Chrissie have a fabulous exhibition hung now, which is on until the 15th of December.
So I know that our art community is very supportive of one another, but how did you two first actually meet then?
That was via my sister. My sister bought one of Sally's paintings, and then she said to me, "You ought to meet Sally. She's an artist on the island," and I'd not been here long, and so we met up, and we're kind of
good friends.
And well, as your husband said, he thinks we were parted at birth.
Yeah,
yeah. That's lovely.
But it's funny that that Chrissie's sister said to me, "You ought to meet my sister. You'd get on really well," and we do actually.
Yeah.
And so we went down to see Jane. We hadn't been to the engine house, and we went to have a look round. We went, "Whoa, what a space!"
Yeah.
So it's worked out really well.
So Sally, how would you describe your artwork?
It's difficult. It's oil paintings. They tend to be rather large. Natural history subjects, which Chrissie follows too. And I just like the detail that comes in painting very large. I like colour. I like texture. I put textiles in my paintings. I put antiques sometimes in my paintings. I'm just interested in objects and rendering them in large scale.
And can you remember when you first discovered your artistic talent?
Yes. Well, I didn't discover it really. It was my teacher at Victoria Road School put me in for the Royal Agricultural Show, and I won 50p.
Oh,
all of 50p.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, it was the first time really I'd ever drawn anything.
What was
So-
it?
It was the girl who sat opposite me in primary school. So it was a portrait.
And Chrissie, same question to you. How would you describe your work for people who haven't seen it yet?
I work in pencil and watercolour. I come from a similar background because we're both illustrators, really. Artist stroke. You have to look in the dictionary to see the difference, but we've got illustrative background. I paint and draw in detail, although I can go a little bit looser. Some of my watercolours have gone a bit looser. The natural world is my love, and obviously the island is just an abundance of that. So, and I just want to go on to do more and more, but it'll all be natural topics. Not always though. I sometimes get the odd motorbike to do, but all natural subjects. Yeah, that's it really.
And how does it work with regards to the space itself at the engine house? How have you sort of laid it out? Have you each got a section, or have you sort of separated the work and sort of split it up amongst yourselves, or?
No, we've taken basically one side of the exhibition space each. I mean, we tend to work in different scales, so it worked better that way. We were going to mix them up, but we didn't.
It naturally, we didn't really know till we looked at the space. We took all our, I think I've got about 27, 28 or something. We've got quite an amount.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how it was going to go. But on the Wednesday we got there, we thought, how's this going to work? And it just happened gradually. And as it happens, we didn't know, but mine are all down one side. And, and I've got,
I think to a certain extent as well, there was constraints in the wall space available. So that obviously your bigger paintings had to go on the bigger walls.
The big wall,
and then some of Christie's smaller ones fit more easily between the windows, for example. So in a way, it was sort of like a natural
it was not. It naturally
way
fell
that
into how it was going to go.
Yes, yeah.
And it must be creating a wonderful space for people to work in down there, Jane, to have that artwork surrounding you.
It's fabulous. And my hope is, I mean, tragically we've lost the Sale Gallery, but whether or not, a gallery on its own is sustainable for the island, I'm not sure. But I think something that the Engine House can offer is the wall space, where people are using the building primarily for another purpose. And in a way, it's going to bring a different audience as well to see artwork that might not necessarily otherwise walk into a gallery space. And I think that's going to be really important in linking business with art, which is something that I've strived to do for the last couple of years. So I have high hopes for it, and I hope to do several more shows next year. The lighting isn't ideal for Sally's and Chrissie's show, unfortunately, but I intend to get a proper hanging system and lighting in place so that going forward, we can show the art then to its absolute best. Not that it doesn't look amazing now, but I mean, it can look even better, I'm sure.
And that's the thing, isn't it? 'Cause as you mentioned, obviously now we have lost a sale gallery, so I'm assuming it does create much less opportunity now for artists to actually put their work on display. But one of the things the sale did as well was it would have an artist in residence. And actually you're sort of branching out into that as well at the Engine House.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm really delighted to say that we've got two very well-known and established artists now in a studio space in the Engine House. That's Juan Moore and Anna Klukas. And I'm hoping that they are going to do an exhibition next year. Anna's started painting today, which is very exciting. So, yeah, it's great to have, artists actually working in the space. The remit of the Engine House, we tried to give it a bit of a USP, and we're focusing on arts, digital media and tech. So I think I'm doing a pretty good job of, ticking the arts box at the moment. I'm still working on the others.
And we should say, obviously, Maxine Cannon was very excited by the fact that when she was showing off these wonderful Beano stamps that she had artists on either side of it. What do you both make of these fabulous, colourful comic stamps then?
They're great.
Oh, I love them. I mean, the Beano was the comic I used to have when I was young, so yeah, I can remember getting the Beano. They're great. They're really
Sally,
good.
you were a fan.
I was a fan. I belonged to the Dennis the Menace fan club. And I even had a badge with his dog on it.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, don't say the name.
No, I won't say the name.
I have to say,
But
lots of people do know his name. We are giving away, just to remind you, a Isle of Man Post Office Beano fan pack. If you can tell us the name of Dennis's dog. So many of you have been in touch, and lots of Beano fans as well. Di, it's not rough. You need to have another go at that one.
Yeah, she does, yeah. But again, it just illustrates, doesn't it? It illustrates.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
The complete diversity of work on the Isle of Man. I mean, the two of you together, as you said, yes, you both have that sort of interest in the sort of natural world, but your work is so very different. And in a few weeks, we're going to be joined by someone who's putting a comic together. And then you've got people working in so many different mediums on the island that it's great to see, isn't it? And having this sort of collaboration, it must sort of spark ideas in yourselves. Do you find it quite inspiring to sort of work alongside each other in that respect?
Since I've been on the island, I've found that there's so many artists. I mean, how many are in the directory?
About 80 odd, 85, something like that. Yeah.
And
I know I'm barely scraping the surface.
And and I find that actually the collaboration has been really good. Artists really do. They communicate to each other. Sally and I, you bounce off each other, you stimulate each other, you get new ideas. It's really, really good to kind of mix and talk, which doesn't always happen.
no. Well, yeah, there are a lot of artists here, and they're incredibly diverse, aren't they?
Yeah.
You just have to look at the directory to see all that.
Such an inspirational place, isn't it? I mean,
Well, it is, but it's not all landscapes.
no, it's not, but it's still.
But it can inspire you regardless of what your discipline is or what your skill is.
Yeah.